So in the past, in the 1940s or 1950s, magazines sought a very broad general audience. The purpose of magazines like Look or Life or the Saturday Evening Post was to attract a broad cross-section of Americans. Now today, magazines have moved in an entirely different direction, and magazines tend to not be focused on a general interest audience. Instead, magazines primarily seek specialized niche audiences to attract a particular type of subscriber or reader. We can categorize magazines along two main lines. Magazines can be categorized according to the type of advertiser they're trying to reach. And here there's three main types. I think the magazine that most of us are familiar with is the consumer advertiser, where advertisers are just trying to reach individual consumers to buy their products, right? So a magazine like People magazine attracts advertisers that are trying to sell consumers a range of different types of products. The second advertiser type of magazine is the business or trade association magazine. This is a magazine that is trying to reach businesses in a particular economic sector. So for instance, there might be a magazine that tries to reach construction companies and to sell and advertise products that construction companies might need. And then the third main advertiser type of magazine is the farm advertiser, where there's a whole group of magazines that seek to reach farmers or people that own farms or are involved in the agricultural business in some way. The second way in which advertisers target specific audiences is to target particular demographic groups. And as we said, magazines are not trying to reach just general audiences, but instead they're trying to reach particular niche audiences according to some demographic group based on gender, age, or ethnicity or sexual orientation, right? So that for gender, there are magazines like Men's Fitness that attract males, and Good Housekeeping or Cosmopolitan that seek a female audience. Magazines also cater to the particular interests of audiences, right? So that there are magazines like Sports Illustrated that appeal to people that are interested in sports, or magazines oriented around a particular leisure time activity. So, for instance, with the booming success of video games, there's a number of magazines that are all oriented around video games and the people that play them. Right. So again, we can classify magazines according to the type of advertiser they're trying to reach, and also the demographic target group for their subscribers. The organizational structure of a company that's involved in magazine publishing depends very much on the size and scope of the magazine itself. At one extreme, for very small magazines, you may have the entire magazine produced and distributed by maybe one or a few people making use of desktop publishing. These people are responsible for the actual writing of the magazine, the layout of it, and making certain that it is published online. But for larger magazines, the responsibilities of people that work for these magazines are divided into four main areas. And this slide briefly talks about two of them. One area that's central to the mission of magazines is the editorial function. These are people that are responsible for the actual content of the magazine itself, the articles, the reporting, the photography, the editing of all of the text and images in the magazine itself. People that work in the editorial department include not only the journalists and reporters, but also the managing editors, editor-in-chief, and the publisher. The second main area within magazines is production and technology. These are people that operate and maintain the computers and software that's necessary to produce the magazine. This part of the magazine's operation also has to do with those that are responsible for the printing of the magazine and any kind of machinery and technology that's related to the printing of the physical copies of the magazine. The third main area within magazines is for advertising and sales. These are the people that are responsible for selling advertisements that get placed in the magazine, either the physical copy or the online version of the magazine. People in advertising also try to drum up new business for advertising in the magazines to get new clients that want to advertise their products in the magazine. The prices for ads in the magazines are determined by what are called rate cards that specify the price of an ad for various sizes of ads. Now, the last major area in magazines is for circulation and distribution. The circulation department is the department that is responsible for subscriptions for the magazine and also single copy sales at supermarkets or retail outlets. And the circulation department monitors subscriptions for the magazine and tries to increase those however possible. Magazine publishing in the U.S. is dominated by a small number of magazine chains. These are companies that own several magazines. The typical practice of these magazine chains is to try and specialize in a particular niche audience, and so these chains will operate a number of magazines that appeal to that desired demographic group. For instance, Advanced Publications, that owns Condé Nast, focuses more on upscale audiences. So its magazines appeal to these more affluent audiences. This caters to audiences that have a lot of disposable income and like to buy really expensive consumer products. One example of this would be the magazine GQ. Another major chain, the Meredith Corporation, owns a number of magazines that appeal to women and homemakers and people that are oriented around the home. This would include magazines like Good Housekeeping. Another major magazine chain that I think is of note is Time Inc. That's a company that's the largest magazine chain in the U.S., owning a wide range of magazines like Entertainment Weekly, Time Magazine, Sports Illustrated, People. I think Time Inc. is interesting because it itself is a subsidiary of a larger media conglomerate that we've talked about previously, Time Warner. Time Warner has a vast array of outlets in many different medias, not just magazines, but also television, film, cable TV, internet operations, and so forth. Time Inc. Makes use of its status as a subsidiary within Time Warner to promote certain synergistic policies. So, for instance, reporters that are on CNN, for instance, may also write articles and columns for Time Magazine. All right. One of its publications, Entertainment Weekly, may do feature stories on upcoming Warner Brothers films that are about to be released. So Time Inc. is able to use its magazines to promote the other media properties of Time Warner in other media sectors, and it's able to pool its resources by using the same personnel in a broad array of Time Warner properties, right? So again, journalists can contribute to both Time Magazine, but also CNN.